Well, it's a bit grey. We lost the football. Well, England did anyway.
Yeah, you did. I didn't.
You didn't. Okay. It's a bit gloomy, but bad things happening in the US. Mark, tell us about the Trump incident.
Well, no sooner did I finish more or less writing up and reflecting on the NATO summit, thinking that life was simple, that I got a call from a pastor friend. Hey, did you hear somebody took a shot at Trump? We don't know what condition he's in. It was Saturday at a Pennsylvania rally. And this first slide is from the Associated Press, that font of wisdom wire service in the United States, based there anyway. Authorities hunt for clues, but motive of man who tried to assassinate Donald Trump remains elusive. Since then, there's been some other speculations on the so-called shooter. We'll talk about that later. This is from the same AP article. The 20-year-old man who tried to assassinate former President Trump first came to law enforcement's attention at Saturday's rally when spectators, they're saying, noticed him acting strangely outside the campaign event. The tip sparked a frantic search, but officers were unable to find him before he managed to get on a roof where he opened fire, and so on and so forth. I won't read that whole thing. They're saying his name is Thomas Matthew Crooks, a rather interesting last name in this context. Thomas Matthew Crooks, only 20 years old. And of course, it's strange to consider that they already knew he acted strangely, and then he was able to get on a roof with all the king's horses and all the king's men in the form of the Secret Service, the Praetorian Guard, you might say, being right there. You would think a roof vantage point would be something they would have automatically closed off after somebody reported that he was acting strangely. Anyway, we have a video of the event from Fox News that then went to YouTube, so we can look at that to get a sense of what evidently happened.
Oh, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Ready? Move! Up! Move! Go! Up! Hawkeye's here. Hawkeye's here. Move it to the stair. Stair, get ready. Stair, get ready. We ready? Down. Down. Are we good? Shooters down. Shooters down. Are we good to move? Shooters down. We're good to move. We're clear. We're clear. Let's move. We're clear.
Let me get my shoes. Let me get my shoes.
I got you, sir. I got you, sir.
Let me get my shoes, sir.
Hold on, your head is bloody.
So we gotta move to the bus. Let me get my shoes.
Okay, my shoes down. Watch out.
Wait.
And as you can see there, gentlemen, Trump was acting defiant, put the fist in the air, indicating he's going to fight. And I would observe, maybe you guys want to comment at this point a little bit, it's a little weird that they didn't turn the podium mic off so as to avoid giving away any other plans, protocols, immediate intentions of what they were going to do with Trump. Because at that point, they couldn't have known exactly how many shooters there could have been and what the risk factor was. So it's a little strange they didn't turn the mic off so they would keep their intentions private in that immediate aftermath. I don't know if you guys want to comment. I can of course keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that the mic being switched on or off would have been in their control, first of all. But I mean, there are many questions to ask about the activities of the so-called Secret Service, because as you may be coming on to in a second, Mark, the police and the Secret Service their attention was drawn to the guy on the roof. and they apparently did nothing. And then there's this whole issue of why was he even given the opportunity to act defiant, as you say, because that certainly is not protocol. His head was completely exposed at that point, and I appreciate that he said he told them to wait, but nonetheless, in that circumstance, they should have been in control. So many questions to be asked about the behavior of Secret Service there.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that. And yes, I also found it astonishing that you had the sniper squad up on the roof who would have been tasked to surveil, to watch the whole area, and particularly likely sniper positions. And yet, even when the crowd was shouting really quite loudly that they could see a man on the other roof off to Trump's right, there appeared to be no reaction from that sniper security team on the roof behind him.
Yeah, I'm sure the oddities will keep piling up. And of course, this issue can linger on. We can talk about some things in Extra today, and probably next week there'll be some follow-up. But continuing with this essential report in the immediate wake of the event, this next slide shows what they're saying is the suspect, Thomas Matthew Crooks, again, a kind of weird name. Suspect, it says here, came within inches of killing Trump, but left few clues as to why. And they're saying it's a high school yearbook photo of this young man. And in this particular photo, he looks even younger than 20. One is reminded a little bit of Adam Lanza, the purported shooter in the very strange Sandy Hook school shooting in Connecticut. I believe that was in latter 2012. I won't go any further than that on that analogy, but there is that basic similarity, this improbable looking shooter in terms of the person. Anyway, this is...
Mark, sorry, just to come in, to come in there. I was intrigued because very quickly online, a photograph of this young man, Mr. Crooks, appeared, taken from the school, but it was tied in with a BlackRock advert video, but it showed him presumably pretty close to his age now, whereas the photo that's been used in that article does seem to have him as effectively a little boy, but online you can see video where you can see him as he really is, which is a young man.
Yeah, you would think that they would use a better photo than that for any reports. I mean, you might do an add-on as here's how he looked when he was younger, but the main photo to tell the story, you would think they would use the most up-to-date photo possible. Anyway, continuing on, we'll walk through this, covering not all the ground, but some essential things. This is from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, a major newspaper in Southeast U.S. The photographer who captured this iconic image recounts the moment shots were fired at Donald Trump. As the FBI investigates the attack on former Donald Trump's campaign rally as an attempted assassination and an act of domestic terror, they're making that allegation now, the Associated Press photojournalist who captured the image of a defiant Trump raising his fist after being targeted described the moment shots were fired. The photojournalist said, quote, "I was right in front of the stage, directly in front of the stage. It was a normal rally. You know, I've done it 100 times. And over my left shoulder, I heard several pops. And I knew immediately," he says, "it was gunfire." And this is Evan Vucci, the AP photojournalist. This is what he said. The former president, his ear covered in blood from what he said was a gunshot, was quickly pulled away by Secret Service agents. And of course, Mike made a good point. It's strange that they let him raise his head the way they did. And at that point, not knowing exactly what the overall scenario was, that would subject Trump to additional danger. And these are some other observations. I started getting a lot of phone calls, as you might imagine, and I also placed a lot of phone calls. And Brian McLean, a good contact of mine, a TNT radio host that's based in Australia. It has a lot of U.S. hosts. Brian's based in Temple, Texas. He's an IT expert, and he has some reasonable knowledge of firearms. He understands there reportedly was no external security perimeter established, and possibly a lack of 3 designated marksman security teams. And it appears he heard there was no quote, intel surveillance recon drone overhead. Evidently, drones are fairly commonly used, and maybe this one did not include that, among other oddities, including the advanced threat assessment seemed to be lacking. Then a friend of mine, Alan Knutson, out of the greater Dallas area, kind of a Trump aficionado, a talented writer in his own right, kind of a blogger. He says, was this a massive Secret Service failure? The agenda not to give Trump good protection seems evident. And I didn't write this in there, guys, but he also added, could this have been drug-induced on the part of the shooter, or maybe even kind of a Manchurian candidate triggered kind of thing, where he's placed under hypnosis, triggered by an image or a phrase or a word. He then acts out a shooting, and then if he wasn't shot dead like he reportedly was, then he wouldn't remember actually doing the event. People have even ascribed that to Lee Harvey Oswald way back in the JFK days in Dallas. That's been speculated on. At any rate, Sheriff Joe Arpaio called me back. He was at the Republican National Convention. In fact, he's there all this week in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He told me, I'm angry, it says here. I'm very sad. I think he'll be okay. He kept saying, fight, fight, fight. He's a fighter. And he says that he's really anticipating, as is many in the Republican Party, Trump's presidential acceptance speech, that's supposed to be given at the Milwaukee National Convention this coming Thursday. So evidently that's when Trump will accept the GOP nomination for president. And we could go on. Like I say, there's plenty of room in extra and next week and follow-ups as things are fleshed out and as I study it more. But there were so many things that were going on since that debate where Biden really bombed out versus Trump back on June 27th on CNN, and many, many nasty things said by the Biden campaign against Trump, including that he's another Hitler. But as is reported here by ZeroHedge, Biden is now halting, his Trump is Hitler, ad campaign after the assassination attempt, and other enemies of Trump are now toning down their rhetoric. So there you go, guys. What a way to start the day on the report here.
Okay, Mark, thank you very much for that. Well, I'll just say I picked up on the similar images from the BBC. Let's pop the first one up, which is the one you showed, but note the headline from the BBC, bullets, blood and a raised fist. So it's almost like branding Trump, who's just been through this event, branding him in the way that the BBC does, dramatic images from the Trump rally. But when you scroll down through these very, very high resolution images, this is one that caught my attention, complete with a circle. This was on the BBC's website with no explanation. But of course, for most people, they're going to look at this and think that this is a shot of the bullet passing his head. A weapons expert has already pointed out that basically this shot is too low for the shot that clipped his ear. But nevertheless, I was puzzled about this because essentially, what is this image? The BBC didn't explain it. I believe they're just allowing an idea to come into the public mind. Is the BBC suggesting a bullet in flight has been captured? Well, I think that's exactly what they're doing. If this is the case, then I need to ask how it was captured, because photographing a bullet in flight is extremely difficult. And we might ask, or I asked early this morning, was the bullet captured because it was expected? You challenged me on that, Mike, and we had a very interesting discussion. Yeah. And that's then produced this article for us, which we found. So, can Doug Mills' photo of a bullet and President Trump be real? Yes, here's how. So if we take out a little bit of the key stuff from this, according to Politico, Mills, the photographer, was taking photos with a Sony camera capable of up to 30 frames per second and 1/8,000th of a second, though they didn't say which one or what setting he was using. Mills is known to have spoken about why he switched to this Sony camera in the past. We now think he's using a Sony A9 III, a camera we actually covered last year with the heading, "This camera can literally stop bullets." That's a fascinating little sentence. But it goes on to say that in that case, he might have been shooting 1/8,000th of a second as it was a bright day, but the camera offers up to 120 frames per second burst and 1/80,000th of a second. Not that anyone would choose that setting unless actually planning for a bullet. So this was quite an extraordinary article. Mike, what's your thoughts?
Well, I think that last quote sums it up. How was this image captured? Somebody will have to work out what the actual odds of capturing it under normal circumstances are. It's so unlikely as to be, impossible, really. So was he using this special high frequency mode in order to get this image? And if so, anytime, as you said earlier today, anytime these types of images have been caught in the past, it's very carefully staged and very carefully set up. And so was he expecting this to happen? These are the questions that need to be asked.
Right, so to be clear to our audience, we're not saying this isn't a photograph of one bullet passing Trump's head, but at the moment there is no formal analysis, and it would appear that the BBC has just completely skated over this really important question. So we'll continue to dig and see what we get. Now, with regard to Trump and Biden, let's have a little listen to a clip of Victoria Newland speaking.
Items for Ukraine, then I cannot not ask you the question. If Trump is elected, what will happen to Ukraine? Will he agree to give Putin his demanded territories?
Well, first of all, I don't believe Donald Trump will be elected by the American people. This man is a felon. He is a liar. He is not a supporter of basic U.S. democratic freedoms and principles. He's talking about locking up Americans, locking up immigrants, hurting our economy, et cetera. So I don't think that Donald Trump is going to be president. So if that's what Putin's betting on, he's going to get a unhappy surprise, I think. That is number one.
Well, we don't know what the unhappy surprise was meant to be in her mind, but she's clear she wants Biden in order to keep the war and the killing and the carnage in Ukraine going. Let's have a little look at Biden and see what he had to say about himself.
For the next 4 years.
George, I'm the guy that put NATO together, the future. No one thought I could expand it. I'm the guy that shoved Putin down. No one thought could happen. I'm the guy that put together the South Pacific Initiative with AUKUS. I'm the guy that got 50 nations, out, not only in Europe, outside of Europe as well, to help Ukraine. I'm the guy that got Japanese to expand their budget. For example, when I decided we used to have 40% of the computer chip, and we invented the chip, that little chip for the computer chip. It's in everything from cell phone to weapons.
Well, there we are. He's the man that did everything. He's got the whole world on side. Trust Joe Biden. He's thinking clearly, as of course Keir Starmer has tried to intimate. And where are we going to go? I predict more war and more war if Biden comes back into power.
Well, 100%. But my question would be, will the narrative really change that much if Trump gets back into power? I think he demonstrated in his first term he wasn't able to deal with the U.S. Defense industry, the Pentagon and so on. So I'm not sure anything would particularly change if he manages to win this election, but we shall see. Maybe we can talk to Mark about that a little bit more in extra. Now,